All right. The first month of the year is over. Hard to believe. So here's my wrap up. And just again, thank you for watching my channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And I would love to hear your reading for January, any books that you liked, and if you read any of these. So my total books read was 18, and I read 5 adult, 6 young adult, and 7 middle grade. 4 of those were debuts. I was really trying to focus on debut books to give them some book love. Not all of them are 2023 debuts. Most were 2022. And 1 backlist arc because I'm trying to get through some of my TBR, that is all the arcs. And then 4 books I own. So the most read genre was realistic fiction. 13 people of color authors, 15 women authors, and 2 LGBTQ plus authors. So here they are. For adult reads, let's see, my favorite read was Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. I mean, that book just blew me away. It was dystopian, it was beautiful, heartbreaking, very realistic, and even though it's dystopian, and I loved it. Another good one was One of Us is Dead. That's a great thriller if you're looking for kind of a fast-paced thriller. And then The Atlas Six was a slow read for me, but a great fantasy, and the ending was really well done, and I look forward to reading the sequel. So even though it wasn't my top pick, definitely a favorite. For young adult books, let's see, my favorite. The most powerful book I read was Victory Stand. That is definitely a book that everyone should read. It was a time in history that I didn't know much about. I knew a little bit, and so it was very cool to see the history behind I don't remember his name, but whenever he stood on the Olympic podium and raised his fist. And another one, I loved all of these books, to be honest. Soulmates was just a good romance. Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School was snarky and sassy and full of heart and hope, and it was great. The Girl Beneath the Sea was a beautiful fantasy, very mythical feeling, and The Black Queen was a great mystery as well. So, and We Deserve Monuments. Oh my gosh, that book, I listened to the audio. It was really good, very well done, and another really powerful book that I think everyone should read just to understand some different perspectives. A lot of character growth in that book, which I enjoyed. All right, middle grade. My favorite book in middle grade, oh my goodness, hands down, Eva Lee's Explains It All. I picked up this book because it was in verse and it was on the Nerdy Book Awards. And so I got it from the library, and then it got a Newbery honor, so I moved it up the list. It's in verse. It's full of anxiety and depression, some trigger warnings, love, grief, hope, friendship. It is beautiful, and the poetry is very well done. You know, some verse novels aren't really poetry. This one is poetry. I also really loved School Trip. This one by Jerry Craft is his 3rd one in this series, and he just keeps bringing new things to light, new things to have conversations about, all while making it a lot of fun. And let me tell you, the ending about graphic novels. So I read this book like here and there across some time, so I kind of had forgotten. But in the beginning, there's a part with the librarian, and she's kind of trying to show diversity and that she can help kids, but she didn't really know what she's doing. And at the end, she kind of gets a little better and kind of says, I like comic books, kind of, and I've read one. And then they show and they play on the words of smile and guts and sisters. And then I think Dragon Hoops was like briefly a picture of it, and then Swim Team, which I love that graphic novel. So I really love how he shouts out to other authors in his books. He does that all the time, but I really liked the ending with it because it was just full of like random puns and kind of stuff like that. Ravenfall was a great kind of spooky, it was very spooky, fantasy, pretty dark. And They Call Me Guero was also in verse, very good. David Bowles is a really good storyteller, and I liked the journey in that book. A Place to Hang the Moon probably would have been my favorite if I hadn't read Evilise. Um, it's a good historical fiction book, World War II, and then Lifeboat 12, also another book in verse, historical fiction. So, Hacking the Code, I read for Multicultural Children's Book Day, and it was really cute. It's very Diary of a Wimpy Kid feeling, just like the illustrations and the humor. But it was a great book about dyslexia and a boy learning how to speak up for himself, other characters to learn about his dyslexia and how they can help him, and it was funny with the pranks, and I loved that book too. I also did some challenges, and one of them was read more debuts. I got 4 squares on there. I got a Libro FM's audiobook challenge. I read 4 there. And then the Decolonize Your Bookshelf, I read 5. So on my blog, I have what those titles are. So here's to a great February and happy reading.